Both last year and this year, the Rangers offense was supposed to carry him. Last year, the offense was mediocre to bad all season long, and so far, the Rangers offense has looked just straight up bad so far. I'm going to tell you why this year is different and why I believe this year's offense can bounce back and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about Nathan Eovaldi's worst start so far this season. The Rangers offense just drawing an absolute blank, and why I think this offensive downturn early on in the season is more of a blip in the radar than it was last year. Before we get into all that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Now, the Rangers offense got shut out for the first time this season last night. Just a truly terrible offensive performance against the Cubs, and against the Cubs' best starter, still in a shutout. Still not good enough. Justin Steele going 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, and those were the only base runners all game long because the Rangers didn't have another base runner after the 5th inning. This was just a truly abysmal offensive performance. The Rangers only had 1 at bat with a runner in scoring position, and they went 0 for 1. In that 1 at bat. I mean, Corey Seager had a bad day, 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Marcus Semien a bad day, 0 for 3 with 1 strikeout. I mean, the top 3 of this order combined for 0 for 9 with 1 walk and 4 strikeouts. It was just not a good day for this Rangers offense, and pretty much every day so far this year has not been a great day for the Rangers offense. I mean, it's just been rough so far. They've run into some pretty decent starting pitching this weekend against Tampa Bay. Their bullpen, their starting pitching were both either the best or second best in baseball in each respect. The Rangers played the Boston Red Sox. They have a pretty good pitching staff, including a Cy Young hopeful on opening day, where the Rangers scored 2 runs and 5 runs against him, or 2 runs and 5 innings against him. But this offense just hasn't done much so far this season. And I think the main question that a lot of fans have, and that a lot of people watching this team have, is, okay, well, last year, this offense was supposed to be even better than in 2023, and they were mid to just bad. Not awful, but not good, not awe-inspiring, definitely not better than the 2023 offense. And this year, the thought was that as well. The thought was, okay, well, last year, everyone was dealing with a World Series hangover. They'd played a whole lot of games, a whole month's worth of extra games, had that much shorter of an offseason, and also, Bruce Bochy's magic, it comes in every other year waves. So, okay. I mean, last year, a lot of the reason the Rangers offense underperformed was because to have that 2023 offense, to have a World Series championship, you have to have a lot of things go right. And for the Rangers in 2023, they had a lot of guys have career years. That doesn't mean that they just played over their skis and those players aren't actually good and they just had one good year. But that is to say that they had the best year of their career so far. And so asking them to repeat exactly that every single year isn't necessarily reasonable. I mean, guys like Marcus Semien, guys like Corey Seager, those 2 guys specifically, I mean, those guys have been incredibly consistent. They've been very, very good big leaguers, and asking them to be very good big leaguers again, that's by no means unreasonable. But asking guys like Adolis Garcia, like Jonah Heim, like Josh Young, especially where the Rangers got caught up, they replaced Mitch Garver, who was a very good DH, very big part of that Rangers offense, probably for the full season. If it wasn't Adolis Garcia, then it was Mitch Garver, who was the Rangers' second best hitter. He was the Rangers' primary DH, and they replaced that DH spot with Wyatt Langford, a rookie, a highly touted rookie, a rookie that was definitely ready for the big leagues, but asking him to be your second or third best hitter as a rookie who had played 200 plate appearances in the minors and really only 2 seasons of college, that's That's a huge ask. Now, Wyatt Langford ended up having a really good year last year, but not, world-beating for the entire year. The month of September, yeah, for sure. The month of June, pretty darn good month. But still, that's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie. And he wasn't the only rookie they were putting pressure on. I mean, the Rangers were putting a lot of pressure on Evan Carter to maybe not repeat what he did, because having an OPS north of 1,000, that month stretch that he had in September, in October, en route to the World Series, it was a great month. It is the best that Evan Carter has looked in his baseballing life, and it was so necessary. The Rangers needed Evan Carter to do that down the stretch to give them that spark. But relying on those two rookies, both universally top five prospects in all of baseball, to buoy your offense, and banking on everybody who just had a career season to go back and do that exact same thing again, that's why the Rangers offense failed last year. The Rangers didn't really bring in anybody new. The new pieces that they brought in were, well, we get a full season of Evan Carter, we get a full season of Wyatt Langford, and that was that. They also brought in Andrew Knizner as a backup catcher to kind of lighten the load on Heim, and Knizner was one of the worst hitters. No, he was the worst hitter in baseball last year. He was truly abysmal offensively, and so Jonah Heim, after catching every single game of the postseason and coming back maybe a little bit sooner than he should have from that wrist injury down the stretch, after all of that workload, Jonah Heim was asked to just go out there and be by far the primary catcher and have very, very few days off, because the offensive production to replace him was nothing. And Jonah Heim had a really, really bad year. And Adolis Garcia had a really, really bad year. Marcus Semien took a step back as well. Marcus Semien also had the most plate appearances for any single player in MLB history in the regular season and postseason combined. That's a lot. He played all 162. He played all, 13, 14, however many games it was in the postseason. And he let off. He had the most plate appearances we've ever seen. That's a lot of innings, a lot of wear and tear on Marcus Semien. And so he had a bad year. He had a down year. He starts to age. Everyone does at some point. And so far this season, the reason that I think this year is different is because the Rangers didn't just bank on everybody coming back and being just as good as they'd ever been. No, that wasn't the case. They traded away Nathaniel Lowe. They said, okay, we need some more power. We need some guys who can hit fastballs. They made a trade for Jake Burger, who at this point, don't look at what Nathaniel Lowe is doing with the Nationals if you're wanting to feel good about the Rangers' first base situation, that they made the right call there. It was more of a redistribution of resources. But the Rangers brought in someone new, someone who is a bona fide good major leaguer, a guy who is going to get you 30 bombs and going to get you probably an OPS plus that's better than league average, and plug that in at first base. They also brought in Joc Pederson, who has been one of the most consistent hitters in Major League Baseball for the last decade. I mean, he's been in the big leagues for 12 years, and pretty much every single year he's been at least 10% better than league average. At least 10% better. The only full seasons he's been in the big leagues as an everydayer since 2015, or mostly an everyday player, since 2015. He's only had 2 full seasons. We're throwing out COVID year because COVID year doesn't count. It was weird. It was very, very weird. But he only had 2 seasons where he hasn't had an OPS plus north of 110. That was back in 2017 as a 25-year-old. He had an OPS plus of 96, so he was 4% worse than league average. And then in 2021, he signed with the Cubs. That was his first year out of LA. And then he was traded to the Atlanta Braves. He had an OPS plus of 95 for that year, 5% worse than league average. Then he goes to San Francisco. He's 46% better than league average with the bat. Then the next year with San Francisco, he's 12% better. And last year, he's 50% better than league average. He's been awful to start this year. But I'm not worried about Joc Pederson because of 10 bad games, because of 34 bad plate appearances. He is one of the most consistent hitters in all of baseball. So instead of the Rangers relying on, these guys who were really, really great one time, and they're going to do that again, surely, they said, no, let's bring in a guy who we know has been good, has been tested, has been consistently excellent, like Joc Pederson. They also brought in more big league bats than just Jake Burger, than just Joc Pederson. They also brought in Kyle Higashioka. They also brought in Kevin Pillar, who is going to play a role against left-handed hitters. Wyatt Langford is no longer a rookie, and he is going to be hopefully ascending to that next level of stardom. But still, even if he doesn't, and even if these guys who had really, really bad years last year, Josh Young barely playing, Evan Carter barely playing, we'll see how much we see Evan Carter in the big leagues at this point this year. I wouldn't hold out too much hope for him coming up immediately, but still, that's going to be a longer process. And I think that we should all just kind of not think about Evan for a little bit until he's back. I think he will get there. I think that this back issue is clearly worrying, but bringing in these new bats, and then you bank on the guys, say half the guys who had, career years in 2023 and down years in 2024, say half of them bounce back to, about not even where they were in 2023, but just the kind of the average of where they'd been before, of just pretty good big leaguers. Then that's a solid, deep, incredibly talented lineup. Corey Seager has been playing through a lot right now. I think that the Rangers might need to just put him on the IL because his at-bats have been just very un-Corey Seager-like. He had that one home run, the first home run of the season, that looked more like Corey Seager, but for the most part, he looks like he has just been playing through something, and he's just not quite right. But that's why I think this offense, while it hasn't been good, and it definitely needs to get better very, very quickly, I'm not thinking that, these first 11 games where they've been averaging 3 runs a game are a sign that, this offense is going to be bad just like last year. No, this is a different offense. This is a newly constructed team, and I think that Chris Young definitely learned from the mistakes that he made last year. Coming up, we're going to talk about Nathan Eovaldi's third start of the year, his first loss of the year, and why I'm just a little bit concerned about him and this pitching staff right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. We've also got changing odds for Major League Baseball AL West Division odds. Right now, the Rangers have jumped up. Right before the season, I believe they were at plus 180 to win the division. Right now, the Rangers are at plus 105, the favorites to win the AL West. Second place, the Houston Astros at plus 220. Third place, the Seattle Mariners at plus 320 right now. The Rangers to win the World Series. Their odds are, the 7th best and the 3rd best in the American League, behind only the Yankees and the Orioles. They are at plus 1700, right behind the Orioles at plus 1600. So go check out all those odds and don't miss out on the action. Head to FanDuel.com to claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Shout out to the Aviators for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be back and talking about the return of Josh Young, what he looks like in his first game, in the first start of the season, the first start in Texas Rangers uniform for Patrick Corbin. Now, last night, Eovaldi was not as good as he has been so far this season. He's been exceptional. He has been the Rangers' best pitcher, bar none. He has been, at this point, before this start, the best pitcher in the American League. This start, not quite as much. I mean, just not a vintage Nathan Eovaldi start. 4 hits, 2 walks, his first 2 walks of the season. 4 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks. His first 2 walks of the season, also struck out 4. His ERA ballooned all the way up to 2.29. Now, one of those runs, I believe, was allowed to score as an inherited runner by Gerson Garabito, and the Cubs just ran wild on the Rangers, as basically every team has so far this season. I mean, the Rangers have caught 1 base runner stealing, and last night the Cubs stole 5 bases on the Rangers. 5 stolen bases in a game. Nathan Eovaldi was just not doing a good enough job of holding these runners. They were timing him up perfectly and easily they were timing him up. And Kyle Higashioka, he made some valiant throws, but there's only so much that he could do at this point. I mean, the Rangers starters and the Rangers bullpen, everybody on this Rangers staff, pitching staff, just needs to do a better job of holding these runners, of, making an effort there, of varying their times, of varying their moves, of doing just something to keep these runners intact. I mean, the Rangers catchers have done their best. I mean, they don't have, elite cannon bazooka arms back there. I mean, Higgy's got a fine arm. Jonah's got a fine arm. They're about a league average-ish with that arm, but it doesn't matter if they did have a bazooka back there, because I don't know that they could throw out some of these runners. I mean, these throws that they're making, they have basically no chance, and it is just a way for opposing teams to get that much more of an edge, to get that many more runners in scoring position, in advantageous positions, to where if you have a wild pitch or you make a wrong read, and even the Rangers outfield throws, a lot of these multiple different throws by Adolis Garcia that had no chance of getting the runner at home and allowed the runner hitting a single to go to second base and then get himself into scoring position. Where if he had thrown it to the cutoff man like he probably should have, then maybe the run still scores, but you have fewer run scoring opportunities for the Cubs in that position. I mean, the Cubs were 5 for 13 with runners in scoring position last night. 5 for 13. They had a lot of opportunities because with the Rangers, missing cutoff throws and not holding runners, a walk, a hit by pitch, that turns into a double right there off the bat. If you can't hold that runner, then they're going to move into scoring position very often, very frequently, and then move to third base. I mean, that steal of third base by, I believe it was John Birdie, it was just so easy. He just timed him up. Eovaldi didn't even look at him back there at second base. This staff just needs to do a much, much better job of holding the runners. And, not only that, but Eovaldi's velocity was way down last night. I mean, so far to start the season, his velocity's been down in general. He's been averaging 93.4 on the four-seam fastball, where in years past he's been more than 95, 96 variety. In Eovaldi's last start, it was an absolute gem. I talked at length about how Eovaldi in the past has been a little bit more reliant on having that four-seam fastball velocity, and he's learned to make it work with that curveball being more effective so far this year, with the cutter being more effective this year. I mean, the splitter hasn't been quite as effective, at least in this start, but everything used to play off of that four-seamer, and now in this start, I mean, he was averaging below 92 miles an hour, 91.2 miles an hour on that four-seam fastball. That's not just down a little bit from where he'd been in the past. That's down quite a bit. I mean, I don't remember the last time that I saw Nathan Eovaldi throw a fastball below 90 miles an hour, but he did it last night. The lowest was 89.6 miles an hour on that four-seam fastball, and he topped out at 93.8. He didn't even hit 94 on the gun. 94. I know it was a cold night. I know it's still early on in the season. He only threw 87 pitches. A lot of those were high-stress pitches, and he only threw 99 in his last start, and he had an extra day off as well. I'm just a little bit concerned. I'm not that concerned. This honestly wasn't that bad of an outing for Nathan Eovaldi, but if this continues to be a trend, it's gonna be something that I'm definitely keeping an eye on for sure. Maybe this is just the new Nathan Eovaldi. Maybe this Nathan Eovaldi with this sharper curveball, with the sharper cutter, maybe he just doesn't need to throw as hard, and he's saving that velocity so that he can be healthier throughout the year. Maybe that's the case, and if that's the case, great. That's what the Rangers need, and this is a guy who is a smart, heady pitcher who has good game plans for opposing teams, and some of these extra base hits, they were just kind of lucky. Honestly, Michael Busch's double was just a little bit lucky. It was just blooped down the line and just barely fair, and one of his runs scored on an inherited runner scoring. And then you kick it to the bullpen, and while last time Nathan Eovaldi saved the Rangers' A side of their bullpen by just pitching a complete game shutout, this time he saved the Rangers' A side of their bullpen by getting the Rangers down early, and the Rangers offense saved the A side of the bullpen by just not doing anything, not making it a competitive game where the Rangers wanted to burn any of their good relievers to keep it close, because, well, if the Rangers offense isn't doing anything and they're already down, I mean, Gerson Garabito came in to stop the bleeding, and he did not stop the bleeding. He made it somehow even worse than it already was. We're going to talk about him, what the Rangers do with the long man in their pen, and what these injury replacements are going to do coming off the IL, starting today, right after this. This show is brought to you by Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified line to fuel his sport training and recovery. I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without all the artificial junk. Whether you're recovering after a workout or need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. I'll be back later on this week. I believe on Friday's show, I'll be talking about possible extensions, why the Rangers should look at an extension with Wyatt Langford now, before it gets even more expensive. Now, the Rangers offense couldn't do much. Nathan Eovaldi didn't have his best stuff, was still good enough. The Rangers should have had a chance in this one, but alas, going to the B side of their bullpen. Shout out to Harrison Garabito for doing his job in eating innings and pitching 3 1/3 innings. But also, as a long man in the pen, your job is also to keep your team in the game, to munch those innings and not get totally shelled. And so far this season, it has just not been good for Harrison. Pitched in his last 2 games. He hadn't pitched in a week, so he was completely fresh to throw this many innings, and this game was already donezo. So the Rangers just decided, let's just throw this one to the Wolves. But 3 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, which were earned, and also that inherited runner that he allowed to score, as well as a walk. I mean, it was not a great performance. His ERA is up to 9 on the season, and it's not ideal when the B side of your bullpen, when the offense isn't doing much of anything to give your B side of your bullpen, your long man. This is kind of the job, to just munch up those innings in games that are losses. And when you start your ace and you have to pitch the B side of your bullpen, that's not ideal. The Rangers were on a W5, a 5-game winning streak, and they didn't use the A side of this bullpen on Sunday's game when Kumar Rocker went 5 innings. They were able to get a couple out of Howie Milner and able to patchwork it together enough to get the win on Sunday. But when you have your ace starting and your A side bullpen rested, it's just really frustrating to not get that win, especially when you have Patrick Corbin making his first start as a Texas Ranger tonight on Tuesday. Now, maybe that'll go well, maybe it won't. Patrick Corbin has been the worst pitcher in baseball for the last half decade. I'm not hoping that he's bad. I'm kind of expecting it, though, because that's what he's been. He's going to give you 5-6 innings or though. I don't think the Rangers are going to have to use their long man, even if they are losing. He wears it. He is a guy who goes out there, who has been incredibly healthy and durable since basically 2018. I don't know how many starts he's missed, but it has not been many in the past 6-7 years. There's not a whole lot of guys you can say that about, and that is why the Rangers signed him after having 2 major injuries to 2/5 of their rotation to start this season. And then they had the injury to Jack Leiter, who is going to miss basically 1 start. I'm thinking this is probably going to be Patrick's only start, at least for this little bit. But after this, after Jack comes off the IL, I'm thinking that maybe Harrison Garabito is optioned to AAA. The Rangers do have some other options to call up. I think that Mark Church might also be a guy who's optioned before long. And if Church is optioned, I think that the responding move should be calling up Emiliano Teodoro. I know he's only pitched in 3 games so far this season, but my goodness, he has been incredible out of that pen. He has not allowed an earned run. He has not allowed, I don't believe he allowed an extra base hit. Just 2 hits, 5 innings in those 3 outings. One walk for Emiliano Teodoro, a guy who I did not think could stay in the strike zone to this level, and 7 strikeouts. That fastball is still sitting in there way in the upper 90s, touching 100 with regularity. The breaking ball is just straight up disgusting. And I think he could help the Rangers, even their A side of this bullpen. He might be vying for some of those high leverage innings. But you look down there at Dane Dunning, and so far this year it has been really rough for Dane Dunning. An 11.82 ERA in 2 starts and just over 5 innings. The Rangers have gotten shutout innings from Matt Festa so far. He hasn't allowed an earned run. Caleb Bushley has made 2 starts. He's averaged just over 4 innings in those starts with a 2.08 ERA. David Buchanan, 9 innings in his 2 starts so far, a 1.93 ERA. Adrian Hauser, a 3.60 ERA in 10 innings, 2 starts so far this season. Maybe Hauser is that option. Maybe it's Buchanan, maybe. Heck, the Rangers give a look at Luis Crivello. I don't think he would be as much of a long man option, but the Rangers do have other options. And if this keeps being the case with Garabito, I'm not sure how much longer he'll stay on this big league roster. But it is worth mentioning that those innings that he pitched last night, they're saving the A side of this bullpen so they can be more rested because they have been used so frequently. They've been great. The A side of this pen has been awesome, really, really good. But if you keep asking so many guys in their, in some cases, very late 30s, and Chris Martin, to pitch this frequently, by the end of the season, you're going to have a very, very taxed bullpen, and it's not going to be able to hold up and be this good for this long. But the Rangers, Patrick Corbin isn't the only new Ranger, or formerly not on the roster Ranger. Josh Young's coming back. That I didn't have a good transition there. I'm imperfect as well. But Josh Young is coming back tonight after spending his 10 days on the IL. Everything has gone well with that. He had a couple of rehab starts in Frisco. He looked good. The neck is feeling good. Thankfully, this injury did not spiral into something even worse to keep him out longer. And there's just something about adding Josh Young back to this lineup. I don't know what it is. I mean, I love Josh Young, and he is a very good hitter, but there is something about this lineup that's just different when he's in it since he's come up. I mean, since those couple of games in 2022 and really all of 2023, you look at those 6 weeks or so that Josh Young was on the IL in 2023 with that fractured thumb, this offense went dead, just completely dead in the water. It was just basically held together by an insane months from both Mitch Garver and Corey Seager in August. I mean, felt like almost every single run that scored in that month of August in 2023 when the Rangers were excellent in the first half of August and then horrific in that final half of the month of August in 2023, where it felt like everything was really going sideways. Josh Young was out. And then once Josh Young got back, this offense just felt that much deeper. And I think adding Josh Young back, he is going to play every day at third base. Josh Smith has been the Rangers' best hitter for the last week or so. But Smith is still going to be a regular in this lineup, but he'll be able to give more guys days off. I think Corey Seager might end up going on the IL. He's been playing through this calf injury. It's weird because his defensive metrics are all fantastic. I mean, they all have him grading out as a top 10% defender in the league, which is wild. And it's a calf issue. So that, should theoretically impact, how you're running around out there and your first jump at shortstop. That should be impacted by the calf. But I guess so far he's found a way to work around that. Offensively, he hasn't quite done that yet. He hasn't really looked like he's got his timing. He's got his, everything that makes Corey Seager one of the best hitters on the planet just yet. So maybe the Rangers end up putting him on the IL and just giving him some time off, or maybe Josh Smith is just, bouncing about. Bochy said he's going to play 4 or 5 games a week, and so maybe he can give Marcus Semien some days off so he can start to, get, I don't know. It hasn't been that long of the season that you'd think guys really are that tired yet to need that many days off, but I think more of a mental day off than anything for some of these guys. For whichever guy is having some struggles at the moment, you can put Josh Smith in there in right field and in center field. He's played a little bit. He's played a little bit of left field as well. I mean, he can play everywhere on the diamond outside a catcher. I mean, I think he could probably pitch in a pinch. I don't think the Rangers would do that to him. But still, I think that being able to use Smith as more of that super utility guy to give these guys who are having rough goes of it half days or full days off is going to make this lineup more effective. I mean, so far, and you go back, this team hasn't been great so far. They haven't been, doing really much of anything offensively. I mean, their season high in runs scored was 6. That's not a big offensive output. They're averaging 3 runs a game. That's a bad offense. That's not the Rangers offense that we saw in 2023. And it's not the offense that everyone thought, myself included. And I still think that this offense in 2025 can be even better than where it was in 2023. But it hasn't gotten going so far. And yeah, this has been a trend that the Rangers lose every first game of the series, but they have not lost a series yet so far. The trend has been lose the first game of the series, well, at least for 2 out of their first 3 series. They swept against Tampa Bay. They lost opening day against the Red Sox, and then they won the next 3. They lost the first game and got trounced in the first game against the Reds and then shut them out in back-to-back games and won that series. And so maybe this offense just does finally bounce back. I mean, Jameson Taillon is the starting pitcher tonight. He hasn't been exactly on fire so far to start this season. So maybe this is the game where the Rangers finally start to wake those bats up. It's still going to be really freaking cold in Chicago tonight in the 30s. But this is the time for this Rangers offense to step up. Hopefully, the addition of Josh Jung, just getting another bat back in this lineup and having that sense of urgency. I think they're going to have a sense of urgency of Patrick Corbin maybe giving up a few runs and wanting to make sure they get some runs on the board to support their new guy. But whatever is happening, even with that rough game, this team is still 8-3. They are still in a very good position so far this season. And this offense is not going to be that same offense that completely disappointed last year because of these new additions, because of what Chris Young has learned about being a GM and said multiple times throughout the spring training this season that I never want to make those mistakes again. I never want to be in that position again. I know what I did wrong, and I think he's done the necessary things to correct it. Eventually, Joc Pederson, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, these guys, Jake Berger as well, these guys are too good to be bad for this long. That's the difference between mediocre big leaguers and good big leaguers, which these guys have been. The bad big leaguers, the mediocre big leaguers, they'll have, month, 6-week long stretches where they're bad. But these guys, it's been not even 2 weeks just yet, and I don't think these guys will be slumping for that much longer. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.